welcome back to the Firehouse podcast, episode
56.
Kevin's age.
Wow.
You said it.
Embarrassing me.
We're here at Colca Studios. We got Ryan Mackey on the sticks. Be sure to give him a follow at Max_visuals. It's MACKS. Go to volleyhousepodcast.com or DM us to ask us questions and send in stories or videos you'd like us to review. Also, give us a follow on all social media platforms at Firehouse Podcast and subscribe to our channels on YouTube and Spotify. And we will get into 1-800-BOARD-UP. When disaster strikes, every second and every person matters. That's where 1-800-BOARD-UP comes in. Staffed by many retired first responders, their teams are trained to operate safely and professionally on active incident scenes. After fires, storms, or accidents, they respond immediately to secure properties, prevent further damage, and provide victim services, offering calm guidance and support during the most difficult moments. Working seamlessly alongside first responders and insurance partners, 1-800-BOARD-UP helps protect what matters most and begins the path to recovery when people need it most. Visit 1-800-BOARDUP.com for more information.
Dun, dun, dun.
All right, well, before we hop into the Firehouse of the Week, I'd like to introduce our guest for today's show, Chief Rudy Sunderman. Welcome. Thanks for coming out.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. If you want to just give a quick what you're doing right now, what your title is, and we'll get into the rest of the show, learn all about it.
Great, thank you. So my name's Rudy Sunderman. I'm currently the Commissioner of the Department of Fire Rescue and Emergency Services of Suffolk County, which is a great, exciting job. Before that, I was the Deputy Director and Executive Director of the Suffolk County Fire Academy, which is where we were training all the Suffolk County Fire and EMS members. And I'm also currently an ex-chief of the Mastic Volunteer Fire Department and a commissioner of the Mastic Fire Department as well.
So, busy guy, a lot of...
Keep switching hats.
Yeah,
right? Keep
right.
flipping around.
Well, it depends where I have to go today.
yeah, right.
Sounds like me, right? Just
Yeah.
keep switching things.
Well, again, thanks for coming on the show with us today. Would love to get into some more of the questions that we have to you, but we first got to get into our Department of the Week fundraiser. So we understand that some departments out there are hurting for donations and funds, so we created this program with the goal to raise money by selling fire department t-shirts on our website, where net proceeds will be sent back to the department at the end of each month. And by using our platform, you'll be able to reach more people outside your area, and this is a great opportunity for us firefighters to support one another while also adding to your collection of fire department merch. So if you want more information on how to get your department involved, send us a message on social media, or you can send us an email at info@volleyhousepodcast.com. And this week's Department of the Week is the Adwolfe Volunteer Fire Department in Virginia. So their story, they were established on January 1st, 1980. Since that date, we have taken great pride in providing the best service possible for the Adwolfe community in Smith County, Virginia. We have approximately 25 volunteers on the team. We serve with 2 engines, 2 tankers, a single brush apparatus, and 2 utility trucks, and we respond to an average of 130 calls per year. So that is the Adwolfe Volunteer Fire Department in Virginia. Pick up one of their shirts, one of their stickers on our website, volleyhousepodcast.com, and just go to the FD fundraiser, and you'll see all the other fire departments we have out there as well. So
they've been around 45 years, or almost 46 years now.
It's so crazy because I think
It doesn't seem like that long
to
ago,
me
right?
still
But
seems like 20 years ago.
But that's a newer fire department if you really think about it, right? I mean, a lot of departments have been around 1900s, early 1900s. Some, I think Long Island, some of the last ones were probably the 50s, I think.
I think, I thought Nesquag was in the 60s.
Might have been. I think Terryville was 50s, maybe somewhere around there. But, for a department to start out in the 80s, must be an area that started to grow. And
Yeah,
they needed
probably.
a department. But they'll be coming up on their 50th, so you should probably try to raise some money for them. Maybe they can have a little get-together party for their 50th anniversary.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
I like that idea. So
buy their shirts.
Yeah, buy their shirts, help support them. I'm sure they're going to have a banger for
Maybe
their
we can
their
go
50th.
down there for their 50th and hang out with them.
Yeah, for
Why
sure.
not? Why not? We'll take
Great
a ride.
idea.
Why not? Start visiting all these anniversaries. It'll be
Yeah,
fun.
yeah. We'll
Volley
be
House
all over the
Podcast
place.
live.
Job of the week.
Jesus. There's jobs everywhere.
Long Island has been hot.
Well, hold on. We're in a heat wave right now. Don't you understand? It was 28 degrees today. This is a heat wave.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about
Got down to
fires.
3 degrees, I think, Saturday
Yeah.
night. It was freezing.
Cold.
Oh,
Yeah.
my.
And
It's tough firefighting in that weather.
Yeah, and I'm sure, Rudy, you can speak to it because you were probably all over the place with all the fires going on in Suffolk County.
Yeah, the local volunteer fire departments were out all weekend, and even today, Brentwood just had one, but Amityville had a big fire, 3-story house that was burning this last Saturday, like -3 degrees or something out there, and
Was that
they
on
had
the
a
water,
bunch of
too?
fire departments. It was on the water.
on the water,
yeah.
right?
On the water. Bunch of departments from Suffolk County and some Nassau departments because they border Nassau. So between Suffolk and Nassau responded together to this fire. And it got to mostly all 3 floors, balloon construction. So the chief and the staff in the Amityville department and the neighboring departments did a great job. But in that frigid weather and the local EMS crews that were able to support it did a phenomenal job out there. So it was really cold.
Yeah, especially with the wind too, has been crazy these past few days.
There's a lot of rigs, they've been having problems with rigs freezing up. Just going out in general responses because the water's so cold. You got to circulate your water, or keep all your drains and valves open, so that you don't have this stuff freezing up. But I know a lot of the mechanics have been running around with frozen pumps and frozen lines, and you really got to watch out for that stuff.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of any hydrant problems though.
I didn't hear of any hydrant problems, but we always remind our residents to make sure, and the local fire departments to promote, asking the residents to help clear out the hydrants to ensure when we get an alarm that we're able to go to work and do our job to make sure we get that positive water supply. It's got to happen.
So we talked about that a few episodes ago. The last snowstorm that we had up here, the initiative the fire departments were putting out to get their communities to go out and shovel. They were calling it Hydrant Hero.
Yeah.
It was like they were doing raffles, giving out gift cards to
gift cards to the best cleared
restaurants.
hydrant and stuff like that, getting engaged with the community. I know we were putting it up on our social media, getting it shared around by local residents, businesses, local fire departments. I mean, it was good to promote, the businesses, the residents to clear out your hydrants so we're ready to go to work.
It sounded like a win-win for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know who the initial was. I mean, I saw it posted with Smithtown.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they were the first, but, there were West Sayville. I know Babylon Township picked it up. We picked it up.
Stony Brook. I saw a bunch of departments picking it up.
Stony
It
Brook
was pretty
did.
cool.
Yeah,
I'm curious to know if anybody got any applications out of that.
I don't know, but I think we should do it every snowstorm.
Yeah.
Why not?
No, I think it's a great idea.
For the short little cost that it is, it's well worth it.
For sure.
And you probably get restaurants to donate it.
Yeah. Or just restaurants getting their name on a post from the fire department,
Yeah.
get it out to the community,
that's great. Win-win.
The next is drill of the week. So I'm going to send this one to you. Drill of the week. What do you think is a good drill that departments anywhere, can work on? Whether it's in the Northeast with the cold weather or whatever you have in mind that you think would be a good.
So, we drill, in Mastic pretty heavily. And, this past week, even our youth squad that we have, which is our junior explorers, we went right back to basics and worked on forcible entry on air with our SCBA on. And we were drilling, the basics with our forcible entry door, teaching them how to ensure that they could force the door. Because sometimes you got to have the door ready so that either the search team's going in to search or the hose team's going in to put water on the fire. The quicker we get water on the fire, the quicker we got, control of the fire scene. That's always been my motto as a chief in the fire department. Let me get water on the fire, and the scene's going to be in control pretty fast.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. So you had them on air, like doing the force entry, say like just on like a regular door, but you just had them on air.
On air.
It wasn't in like a burn building or anything
Not
like that?
in a burn building. I had them on air, forcing the door, just like we teach them back at the Suffolk County Fire Academy. I had them forcing the door, getting ready to go, and making sure they were ready to be ready future firefighters for us. I invest my time in our youth program, I
Right.
think, because they're going to be my future firefighters.
Yeah, no, that's a great point.
I saw yesterday, too, you were at the Junior Member Association, right? And that's recent. That's pretty new that they started getting all these juniors together.
It's about a year and a half old.
Yeah, do you want to just talk about that and elaborate on it? Because we talk about juniors and how it is the life of our fire departments to help our recruitment, but maybe that's an area that you can just share of what they're doing now of getting all the junior departments together or companies together.
Yeah, so Suffolk County has a Suffolk County Volunteer Junior Firefighters Association, and they're about a year and a half old. And yesterday they had their annual meeting where they elected some newly elected officers. I was able to give a proclamation out to the outgoing captain, and then we were able to swear in the new officers. And there was about 50 youth squads at the meeting, which is fire and EMS youth squads.
Oh, wow.
And
EMS too, huh?
EMS,
I had no
and
idea.
even one step further is they had about 20 volunteer youth squads at the meeting.
Wow.
And because of the weather being cold, they weren't able to get all the ones that normally attend. But it was a great turnout. We were in Huntington Manor. So, it's exciting. I offered up, they're welcome to come to the Department of Fire Rescue and Emergency Services to get a tour of our dispatch 911 center and also to get a tour of our EOC, because not only are they going to be future fire and EMS personnel, but maybe they'll want a job at Fres one day.
Or maybe they'll be a chief, so it's good for them to know. I mean, I came up through the juniors, I went through all the ranks, and, to see that firsthand early on and know what Fres can do for you is a benefit.
That's what I was excited about. Getting to speak to them is just another opportunity for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been at Fres Dispatch Center before, years ago, and it looked like something you see out of a movie. Like, just the whole vibe in there was, you walked in, you're like, whoa, this place is cool. It was like the console in the center, and then there's and everything's dim, and it was just like, this is a lot different from where I dispatch,
Yeah.
But no, that's awesome. I think that's a great initiative, especially from a countywide standpoint, because some of the places that we've talked to, I came from a juniors program, and we talked to other places that they have junior programs and they're seeing a lot of success with it. And then there's a few departments out there that are like, we had a junior program, but we got rid of it because it just wasn't working out. And I think a lot of that has to do with the people that are running it.
Leadership.
Yeah, and
Back to leadership again.
And that was one thing I wanted to ask you about, how they go about electing their officers. From a whole county, that's a pretty big pool to pick from. Is it basically the same way we do it in the regular, or
Same way we do it is what they told me. Is they were you submitted your name that you wanted to run for some sergeant of arms to the captain of the organization, and then they have elections based on your you presenting in front of the group. So they actually, during the meeting, the people that were running against each other, the juniors and the explorers that were running against each other, spoke in front of their crowd and were able to present themselves very well. And then you elected them based on their skills and experience, which was pretty cool, actually. It was a nice tone that was set. I was excited to actually be there and listen to it.
Yeah,
and then they voted the winner.
And I do see they've been doing some joint trainings together, or even the association having trainings and their meetings. So I guess they're starting to know who these people are, because they're starting to work with them on the side by side.
Yeah.
So I think that helps too.
Well, that's big with one of the things people ask us all the time is about the people not calling in mutual aid from another department because they don't like,
don't
the
like
other
them.
person and stuff like that. And this is just another way to, eventually you're going to get to a point where all these juniors that are, within the county and they know each other, it'll start to get some of that bullshit out of there.
Yeah.
And there's some junior drill teams out there on the island.
Yes, that I'm aware of,
that's
too.
another thing that they could see each other.
Yeah, for sure. And now, what was the whole idea behind that? Just more so from a recruitment standpoint, or to help out each department with their programs?
Well, I think it was one for recruitment, but it also lets them help out each department together to hear what each other is doing, so that you could build your department, build your Explorer or Junior program, And then you meet people like were both saying there. I think that was pretty cool. And then they even said, sit with somebody you don't know. To what you were
That's a good
saying,
idea.
how do you build what they do so you could take it back to your organization and learn from each other? And it was pretty good. It's about knowing the future fire personnel in the county and EMS personnel.
That's amazing. That
was
really
good.
is cool. And I do, at some point in this conversation, want to loop back to that. But take us through your journey in the fire service. How'd you start? How'd you wind up going through the ranks and, eventually making your way into the Suffolk County Fire and Rescue?
So, my dad is an ex-chief in the Mastic Fire Department, and my dad's also a current sitting commissioner. I was in the junior fire department. Started in the junior fire department, then became a member of the Mastic Fire Department. Almost have 40 years in the fire department next year. Started in 1987, and then I rose through the ranks as a lieutenant, into captain, and then became the chief of Mastic Fire Department. After being chief of the fire department, I then went over to being a board of fire commissioner for a few years, and then they had an opportunity for me to go back into the chief's office. So I went back into the chief's office for another few years, which was cool. That's a major operational, and I always enjoyed operations in the fire department. And now I'm back into the boardroom. So, and then my son is an assistant chief right now in the fire department.
Oh, wow.
And my brother is also in the fire department, and my uncle. So, the family's all involved in
Yeah,
the fire
yeah.
department. The wife and the daughters are all in the ladies' auxiliary. So
Nice.
everybody, it's a family. I don't want to say it's a family thing, but it's a family thing. And we're passionate about the fire service. But my friends and fellow fire personnel are all part of your family. So it's a real big family department. We all stick together. And you got to do what's best for the residents of the Mastic Fire District. So it's pretty cool, actually.
Oh, that's awesome.
And we believe in the community engagement. I think by being involved in your community, the community engages the fire department. So that's what's cool about it. I also was a chief in the Mastic Ambulance Company. Mastic Ambulance is separate from the fire department.
Okay.
So I was also a chief in Mastic Ambulance for a little while as well. So that was pretty cool, actually. Had my EMT card for a little bit, and now I haven't renewed it, so I'm out of that right now. And then I taught at the Suffolk County Fire Academy with Kevin since 2003. I was an instructor there on the field, and then in the classroom for the remainder of my term until I had an opportunity to become the deputy director and then the executive director of the Fire Academy.
You can go back now. You can go back to deputy director.
No. I like where I'm at. I think this here gives me an opportunity. Public safety is the number one priority. I'm able to take some information and protect the 1.5 million residents of Suffolk County. At the same time, let the fire and EMS service know that the Department of Fire Rescue and Emergency Service is a support agency for them. So we are there to support the fire and EMS agencies. And that was my biggest thing when I was able to come over to the Department of Fire Rescue there, that I wanted the fire service to know and the EMS service know we're there for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You could call on us, and we're going to bring you. If you need a resource, you call us, and we're going to come.
Yeah, that's great. And was EMS always involved with that, or was that something that was fairly new? Did you say something?
It's
about that?
newer. EMS kind of came over.
So EMS was under the health department.
Right.
Oh, okay.
And so they moved EMS over to the Department of Fire Rescue, which makes so much sense.
It makes more sense.
Because we dispatch the EMS calls.
Right.
Why not have the division over us, in with us? So we now have the Fire Marshal's Office, EMS. We have communications with us. We have the Office of Emergency Management. We have our Budget and Finance Division. So we have we've got about 125 employees in the Department of Fire Rescue, which is great. And we work together as one team, one mission. And by doing that, it really works pretty smooth over there.
Right. Oh, that's great. Now, all that being said, what is a day in the life look like when you got all these different, things you gotta be managing? Like, obviously you have your priorities with public safety and stuff like that, but is there some things need more attention than others, or you have a even balance between all of it?
No sleep and always on the phone. But, that's really true. But, we have that deputy fire coordinators program that falls under us. We also have the urban search and rescue team that falls under us. So there's multiple different things that could be going on in one day. It depends what's dropping down. If there's legislation, I could be working with the Suffolk County Legislature and the county executive. So it all depends on how the day looks. For what's happening today, we were meeting to talk about, our warehouse and where our equipment is. Tomorrow it could be we're talking to our partners in the state about what additional equipment we could be getting in on grants. So you just don't know what the day is going to entail, but you have to be ready to go. If there's a storm, we're preparing, working with our other levels of government, DSS, Department of Public Works, because with the storm that just passed, we have to make sure that we're working in conjunction with them to briefing them out on how the storm is going to play out and how much they need to be prepared to make sure the roadways are safe. So, the days are never the same day. We're never going to do the same thing over and over again. But while that's going on, what communications are we giving to the residents and what communications are we giving to the fire and EMS agencies so that they are preparing? So if I'm sending out a message saying snow's coming in the next 24 hours, we're hoping that the fire chiefs and the fire commissioners are getting that same message that, hey, is my standby crew is going to be prepared? Do I need to order that food or whatever's need to be made? At the same point, is your employees standing by to shovel the driveways and the walkways of your buildings? And then, to take it even a step further, is the EMS communicating with the fire if you're two separate agencies? Do you need a snowplow to follow you to calls, or, the engine going to come out? So we're just trying to communicate along to our fire and EMS partners to make sure they're ready for whatever's going on in the events of these storms. So it's a lot of things going on at once.
Sure sounds like
And
it.
sometimes, even though it's a storm, it could be an offshore storm. So they have to be concerned about telling all the people along the shoreline that you could have flooding or wind or problems that way. So people, up here say, well, it's not snowing, it's not raining, it's not a big deal. You have an offshore storm that causes the South Shore of Fire Island to flood out, you got a problem.
Yeah.
So, that's a big basis as well. But, even conversation when I said, can you possibly come on the podcast, and he's like, as long as nothing major happens,
Yeah.
he maybe I have to run out of here in 10 minutes. You never
Yeah.
know, but that's what happens.
Now, is there anything that, I guess, any resources that you guys provide that maybe you wish more of the departments around utilized or knew about?
So we just recently sent to everybody's phone the resource guide, because we wanted the fire chiefs and the commissioners to know and the coordinators to know this is what we have to offer. Because sometimes when that emergency goes on, you're not thinking about those resources. So we ask our deputy fire coordinators to go out to the scene to make sure they stand next to the fire chief or the incident commander. It could be a captain or a lieutenant, but to let the fire chiefs and the incident commander, whoever it may be, know these are the resources that FRES has to offer. It could be a simple light tower. Sometimes we're at a fire and it's dark out, and you need a light tower, or you need something that could be closer to the scene than you could get your fire truck or your rescue truck close to. Well, we could bring you a light tower. It just recently was called out to a fire out in Southold because they needed a light tower and it was going to be extended stay. So whatever it is, we have it, from an air filling machine to the light towers to, the mobile command post to the MERV that we used the other day to keep firefighters warm if need be. So we have the resources. If you need them, you would call us and we would provide the support. So I always like to go to the local chiefs meetings or the districts meetings and tell them about the resources we have. We have drones. Whatever you need, we're willing to provide the resource. So it's pretty cool to have the cache of tools, but the fire chief has to request them, or the EMS chief. We're just not going to roll them unless you're asking for them.
Right.
They also have the ability to work with other partners to get us things that we don't normally have available too, right?
Correct.
With the town resources, county resources, vac trucks,
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And then even, he has the ability to make the call to get stuff from Nassau or even New York State. And, we had an incident in St. James, I guess it was like 2 years ago now, an excavation collapse.
Yeah.
And he calls me on the phone and he says, hey, I got the state on the phone. What do you need? And it's that much that we can communicate, and that's his job as the coordinator for the county to get whatever you need at the scene. So that's his abilities, which is great.
Now, how have you ever had any outsiders that have contacted for help, like outside of Long Island, so to speak, or outside of the state, maybe?
No, we've dealt with and supported upstate in Orange County for the wildfires up there.
Okay.
We supported with approximately 30 volunteer fire departments from Suffolk County, went up in task force in like 12 to 24-hour shifts and supported the Orange County wildfires up there. So we've done that. When the state calls down and says, hey, could you support? We say muster up teams and departments and go up there and support the mission if need be. Now, when we had our wildfires in West Hampton, the state called down and asked us if we needed support, and we were able to support the mission by ourselves. The state did offer us and come down and sit at our command post to see if we needed additional, but we did have, the National Guard helicopters support with some water, but, that was a pretty decent event. A lot of volunteer fire departments from Suffolk County were there, almost all Suffolk County fire departments there. Nassau did stage at our fire academy, but we did have many layers of local government, county government, state government, and federal government partnering with us to ensure that we extinguish that fire as quick as possible.
Yeah, it's interesting because when we had Chief Devonsky came on here, and I'd asked him about the, because I think it was around the time that was over at Bethpage, the golf tournament. I'm having a
Ryder Cup?
The Ryder
yes,
Cup.
the Ryder Cup. Thank you. And then he was talking about the big golf, out in Shinnecock, and just all the planning that that's involved with that. And I believe next year, or is it this year?
This year.
Yeah, they're so. I'm sure there's a lot of that as well.
Oh, it's going.
All sorts of different agencies that you gotta.
We already started meeting with Southampton Town to ensure we're ready for that event, because Southampton Town will be the home AHJ, local authority having jurisdiction, and then they'll ask us for what resources we could help support them in the event for that golf outing.
Right.
Command post will definitely be out there.
Yeah, the command post will be out there. We'll be
It like
partnering
shuts
with
down
them.
out there. It's
Yeah, I know.
crazy.
It's from a logistical standpoint, it gets a little nuts out there.
Big event. We'll be excited to partner for that event. It's the 250th year anniversary.
right.
So there's going to be a lot of events, and we tell local fire departments and EMS agencies know what's going on. Know the gatherings, and you always have to be prepared. I mean, that's what's important.
Right.
As the county emergency manager, because that's part of the job. You're the county's emergency manager. You're the county coordinator, but we have to prepare for any event because you have to be ready, if there's any emergency.
Right. No, that makes total sense. Now, being in your position, obviously there's stuff that goes on, like you mentioned, every day. Things change or whatnot. What are some of the maybe problems that are within the volunteer fire service that you're looking to solve for the future? And it seems like already with this juniors program that you guys have set up, that's one way to tackle it. Is there anything in particular that you see with the fire departments that the county is helping out with, or the state?
So, first thing, locally, what I do is I think communications is the best thing. We have to communicate with the local fire and EMS agencies. One, they have to know we're there to support them, but two, we have to communicate with them at all times. They have to know that we have an open door, that we communicate anything we have going on with them. So communications has to be number one. But all levels of government have to work together. I think if we're all going in one direction, we can make a better cause for what's going on out here in the fire service. And I think that's the key to what we have going on here. We do have a recruitment and retention program in the county, which is called the Service Program, which we offer volunteer fire and EMS members the opportunity for college programs. So we do ask that if you are going to college programs, you could submit to the county, and we allot up to what you would pay around to go to a Suffolk community college. We would give you some funds for that. So we want to exercise those opportunities that we could get people to retain them and stay in the local volunteer fire and EMS agencies. That's number one. Number two, I know we talked earlier about this, but the state fire districts, chiefs, volunteers, and FASNY all are looking at this pay per call or pay per standby, whatever it is they're going to work. But we all have to be working in the same direction and fix this problem, because we do want volunteers in our organization, but we have to do what's best to get the fire trucks and the EMS agencies to the residents, right? And we're doing a good job in one aspect, but we know we do have to fix the problem and make sure that we get more personnel on the scene, right? It's not just getting, one rig there, it's getting, a bunch of rigs there when we need them to be on the scene.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's literally one of like the most requested things for us to talk about is, well, we're having trouble with recruiting, or we're having trouble with retention. And the whole big thing with the retention piece of it that, I mean, Kevin and I just bang it over the head pretty much every
All the time.
episode, is the whole leadership problem. Mm-hmm. And that it's clearly, it's not even a fire service issue. It's a overall leadership issue. I mean, just businesses out there have the same problems. And we've talked a lot about, that type of thing. And when it comes to retention, that you wind up losing people due to bad leadership.
Or policies.
Or
old
policy, yeah, or old policies
that
is
need
another
to be
big one.
changed and updated.
Do you have any thoughts on that type of situation?
Well, I agree with you. Leadership. I mean, at the Fire Academy, I had the opportunity to teach leadership, which I thought that was one of the most exciting classes to be able to teach.
Right.
But I do think all fire districts, need to ensure that their chiefs and their officers are taking the leadership classes. That's how we learn, right? You have to understand what's going on in the field of the business we're in. It could be, today we're in the fire service business, so we have to make sure that our leaders are taking those leadership classes in fire and EMS so that we could be good leaders. But we've got to have to learn from each other, right? Because maybe something that's happened in Mastic, we should learn what Mastic Beach is doing. So chiefs also have to be able to talk to other chiefs. So we have to attend, local meetings, or even if you have a local chiefs meeting where the 5 to 6 neighboring chiefs get together and talk to each other to see what works well within your organization. Because retention is key. I think we got to retain our members. But what are you doing within your own organization to retain members? Is the training happening that we are getting together to make sure we're training our members? What are you doing within your organization? Do you know your people? I always use the story that my one member would know I would stop at the firehouse at 6 o'clock in the morning, and he would stop in and see me. At first, I said, this guy's always finding me. But then when I found out why he was really finding me, it was because he felt comfortable telling me what was going on within his life. And then I understood, because as the chief, and we taught this in leadership, you wear many hats. Are you the leader? Are you the circus director? What are you? But really,
The
I was
counselor.
his counselor.
You're the
And that's
counselor.
what I realized after taking a class, that I was the guy's counselor. That every morning he would come up and speak to me, and then I really valued him even more because I understood what his needs were. He felt comfortable stopping by the chief's office to talk to me. Our chiefs and our leaders have to understand your people. You have to be there for your people. And if you're there for your people, that helps with our retention. And that's our number one thing. I think, and the other thing that you talked about is on the recruitment side. At FRES, we are building a new website, which is going to be able to have local fire departments be able to build their own recruitment and retention flyer that they could use and share out on their own, platforms, that you don't have to customize it. We're going to have a flyer for you. You could put your own information in and use it and make it available to each local fire department. So we're trying to help the local fire departments as well in their areas of what they're doing. So we're going to help in any way with recruitment, with retention. We're going to try to bring a task force in to sit with us and hear what the local chiefs want to see from us on the recruitment side. But again, we can't get away from that possibility of that standby crew, because the standby crew in your building is going to do what?
It's the best
Get a rig,
response,
get a
quickest.
rig to your station. Now in Mastic, we do duty crews at night, a lot of times at night, And we know that's guaranteeing a rig on the road and getting you to the scene pretty quick. But and you're getting, credits for points, standing by, you're getting credits for the call, so you're making up your credits, and it's getting members together for morale. They could get a meal if they want to get a meal, they could stand by together, but it does build the morale of the crew that's standing by. And it's done once or twice a week, standby crews, through the night.
Right.
My guys are on right now.
Yeah, I mean,
Started at 5.
Kevin, we always talk about it because Kevin's always discussing the duty crews. I mean, what do you call it? Truckee Mondays
Well,
or whatever?
Truckee Monday and West End Wednesdays.
Yeah, West End Wednesdays.
We got to
That's
do a couple
cool.
different
Listen,
things.
it's-
Anything to kind of just develop,
Yeah, and
But I think what you said is important, though. Not really to cut you off,
No,
but
go ahead.
seeking things out, I think, is important. Like you talked about that person seeking you out, but also seeking out training, seeking out information, right? It's available to us. It's at our fingertips. You can look up a lot of stuff, but I think a lot of people tend to just hold things close or in-house training. Seek the county, seek the state, seek the online programs. They're out there. Read the
Yeah.
books. But like even seeking you just to get information from you and your abilities makes them a better person, right?
yeah, I mean that we talked about it when I was an officer. I was young, and like I was 24 years old as a captain. I had a guy that was a father of 2, married, came to me telling me he had cancer, and I was like, like
What do we do?
I knew like what to say to him and console him, and I knew that there were resources out there for firefighter support when it comes to that type of stuff. But when we talk about this whole leadership thing, I think one of the biggest problems that we have is consistency. Where even if somebody, you go in and do like a leadership course or something like that, Kevin, you say it all the time, perishable skills, where somebody comes in, gives a great leadership speech, and everyone's, hooray and
Rah-rah.
high-fiving, and then the next week, the same shit happens, and a lot of it is people management, where it's, it's not the fireground stuff, it's not the training, it's not the administrative work, it's just knowing how to talk to people. And people, I feel like, tend to look at it like that's an HR thing. Like, oh, you got to be real careful the way you speak to people and HR. But there's like a different type of HR within the fire service. You have the ball breaking, and, then you have people that are there that really want to help others out. And I think that a big issue with it is the actual consistency. Are we keeping on top of every person that we just gave that class to? And, hey, how you doing? Checking in with them. How'd you handle this? How'd you handle that? So, yeah, I think it's good that you guys are kind of taking the reins on that and trying to help these departments move forward.
I think you're so right. I try to say, my son probably says you're in the back of my head all the time, because as an assistant chief, I try to tell him, did you check in with this person? He said his knee was bothering him.
Yeah.
He was homesick for 3 days. Say hello to him. I probably make my son crazy, and he's saying, Dad, Dad, Dad. But, I really think it's important that if you
you're right.
reach out to your members, then when they need you or you need them, they're going to come and say, I'm here to help you, Chief.
Yeah.
I think it goes a long way. The senior members have a lot of institutional knowledge. We have to change to today's future, but at the same point, it could be a senior member, a junior member. Knowing what's going on in their family life sometimes makes that difference, where they're going to be
Yes.
there at that fire station when you need them. That doesn't stop. We need help, and we need to get the rigs on the road. We got to care about our members. That's part of retention. But what's our future going to hold if all of us are working together as one? Not only county agencies, state agencies, we could maybe get this, going in the right direction. But if we're going in different directions, this is going to be a problem. And I told you about the juniors the other day. I had 7 volunteer members from the Firehouse helping me with the juniors train. We had 12 or 14 juniors there, and 7 members were there. So I'm helping they learn from me teaching, and they take over teaching the juniors, and then, I could back off a little bit.
Yeah.
And it helps them. It helps their knowledge base by being there, right? As instructors, and we know this, right? Just from regurgitating the information or bringing out what you are, it kind of refreshes your brain and gets you back into it. And like when Tyler came out to the Joe ED this year, and he's walking around, he's like, oh man, this is so exciting. Like, it rejuvenates you when you're around
Yeah.
other like-minded people that want to do things.
Yeah, it's Yeah, that was. I mean, we talk about it all the time. The Joey D.
Wait till he goes to Houston. He's going to be like a bull on
yeah.
fire, this guy.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just you go there with people that are into the job, and I know that was a big
Joey's
saying of
line.
Joey D's.
Into the job.
Are you
Yeah.
on the job or into the job?
Right. And
gotta
it's
be into
all
it.
people that follow that mindset where you go there and you're just immersed in this amazing group with all these different and people from all over. We interviewed that one guy from French Canada. I could barely understand him, but he was amped. That dude was fired up.
And he's helped considerably over the years.
Yeah, I'm
both
sure,
as
yeah.
a director, instructor, and then, now with Frez, we need a lot of resources when we put that seminar on. And he's a big asset and help to us
Right.
for that. But he enjoys it too. I mean, you see him
Oh,
walking
yeah.
around, he's like, this is great.
Yeah, it's cool.
It
Everyone's
is
walking
awesome,
around like
right?
a pig in shit.
Yeah.
But, when you're around other like-minded people or even training, like you said, you get people together and they want to do, right? I've said this before. Firefighters join because they want to learn things and they want to do things.
Right.
And when you learn and do things together, they want to do more of it. And I think that's a lot of it.
That's it.
And so the junior program that you have at your department, what kind of people are running that? And the reason I ask that is because when I had first joined the juniors, it was much older guys that were running it, and they were talking about all this stuff, but there wasn't really anything resonating with the younger people that were there. And it wasn't until a couple years down the line, to their defense, they had just started that juniors program. But as time went along, some more younger guys started getting involved with it, and they were able to kind of resonate with these younger people a little bit more. Do you kind of have the same?
So I have younger members that are, the leaders or the advisors, if I may say, and then they call upon me to come do the training because I've done some training with the juniors and the explorers, and the advisors who are the younger members say, can you come do the training, because they like when you do the training. Because I bring my fire academy experience, because I learned a lot from the Suffolk County Fire Academy. I took my fire academy experience and I come teach them extinguishers, and we do hands-on extinguishers, we do hands-on forcible entry, we do hands-on Scott packs. And I think by teaching them, it brings them engaged and they stay with the program. And then they come and join our organization, and they become, chiefs in the fire department. Mike Garino, ex-chief of my fire department, was in the juniors. My son's an assistant chief. Me, there's tons of members that are going through our ranks, and I could name a ton of them that were in our fire department that are lieutenants, Mike Malone Jr. These guys are all coming through the ranks because they were juniors in our department, and now they're going to be future leaders of our organization. So it's kind of really exciting. The chief right now, Steve Janiskowitz, was in the junior program. So it just, we're grooming them to be future leaders, and we're excited about it. And, I'm excited to give when I'm free.
Yeah,
when I'm free, I will give them the time, and I tell them, the advisors, you have to schedule me.
Yeah.
So if they schedule me, and then, I hate to say that, but then I make sure it gets on my calendar so nobody else books me, because it's important. If they know I'm coming, they do expect me to be there. So I have to show them the same thing, that they're just as valued.
Right.
Bearing an emergency, just like today.
Like
today.
And now what?
And it's important too, like, kids, I always say this, right? Kids look up to us, right? They look up to firefighters, they want to ride fire trucks, and then they have an opportunity to be in the juniors, and they're firsthand, like almost side by side working with you. You don't want to screw that up now, right? So you want to keep that positive message as they look up to you and say, I want to be a firefighter now and I want to stay. And, listen, we're going to lose some kids, they're going to go off to college or whatever, but we hope that they'll come back to us somewhere along the line, or somewhere else. Who knows?
Right. I mean, what's interesting is you have the junior programs that have been doing pretty well for, most departments we talk to that have a junior program. Oh, we get a lot of guys that come through the junior program. But then there's the other argument about the new generation of kids joining the fire department, where they might be a little bit more sensitive nowadays. And, we're losing these guys because they can't take the heat, so to speak, when they're getting their balls busted. Where do you think that misconnection is because you have younger kids that are in the junior program and they just get funneled right into the fire department and they're prepared for it, where you have somebody who just shows up the door, puts their application in, and all of a sudden they're like, whoa, these guys break my chops too much. Where do you think that disconnect is?
I feel like I'm talking to my wife.
Well, he is a little feminine.
But I really think, having kids, the same thing. I think it's about people want to be treated with respect.
Yes. Yep.
And I think that's the biggest challenge that, it's not what it was years ago. When I first came in the fire department to what it is today, it's changed. But I think people that come in the fire service and EMS agencies today want to be shown respect. And we have to find that balancing act of, hey, we need you to do a job. This is the assignment we're asking you to do because, hey, we're on the fire scene. Versus, hey, we're in the fire station and, we have to treat each other with that respect. I teach that in the classes that I used to teach as well. And, it's a balancing act. But everybody, from that senior member to that new member coming in, we have to give them that respect they deserve.
Yeah, and I say it a lot. We're in the people business, right? We deal with the public, which is the people. We deal with our friends. We deal with the firefighters. We have to be able to deal with people. And that's part of our downfall is we're not trained to deal with people a lot of times. So that's one avenue. The other thing that I think is really good now is, years ago, there was a juniors program that Suffolk County Fire Academy ran. I took it many years ago, back in '84. But, now they're allowed to take basic exterior fire ops now, which is really cool. So these kids are actually getting certificates if they take the countywide class already, which is a good start to get them right into the Firefighter 1 program. Like, they already got a good basis. So not only are they doing the in-house training in their firehouse, now they can take the county level program. Some of them are even getting their EMT before they even join the fire department. So it's a win-win.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think, and then when they get done, the minute they get done with their junior program, they take the hands-on portion, and then they have a Firefighter 1 completion if it's done within a
Certain amount of time.
certain amount of time. So
Yep.
this is great.
As they're a junior.
As they're a
I was
junior,
just gonna ask that. Okay, that's
at
great.
16 and a half,
Yep.
they're able to take the BFO, which is the basic exterior.
Yep.
And then if they graduate and they could take the Firefighter 1 hands-on, they're going to be in your department ready to roll.
Right, yeah. That's
You're
huge.
way ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
So, that's a nice thing that, it hasn't been around that long, but it's one of those things that if the kid is really interested in the fire service, like, they can just go boom, boom, boom right into your department. You can almost make them an interior firefighter right off the bat.
Yeah,
which is
we
awesome.
talked about this a couple of times because
And I know it's not the same in every state or county or anything else, but it's a good start.
like we were saying, why don't high schools offer this type of class as an elective, where you have seniors or juniors that can go take an elective class, which is Firefighter 1 or EMS or whatever it is. That way, they could just be like, oh, I can go join the fire department. Then they don't have to go through all that, because I know things are a little bit different now with Firefighter 1 and how the classes are set up.
We found out, like, Copeg.
I was just going to say, so
BOCES is doing
Copeg
it,
through
but
BOCES is
Copeg's
doing it.
doing in Western Suffolk BOCES.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
We
they
need
are
more of
doing
that. We
Yeah,
need
they're
more of
doing
that.
And now, how does that type of thing happen? Because it seems specific to just Copeg High School, I imagine, is doing that
Well,
through
it's through BOCES, so I don't know
Through
how they're doing
BOCES.
it.
The Fire Academy met with BOCES and Copeg Fire District, and they partnered together. But we're doing that with EMS right now in the BOCES program as well. We're graduating EMTs now
Really?
through the BOCES program, and then we're getting them to want to become not only EMTs, but join the volunteer fire and EMS agencies
Right.
to combined, or become EMTs for wherever they want to be. So it's another program that we're offering for the EMS side as well.
Yeah, I think we should offer that almost in every high school
I was just
across the
gonna say, like,
county. I think that's a win. I think if I had that opportunity in high school, I would have went to BOCES in my senior year, and I would have got all my
Yeah.
certificates.
Oh, yeah, same
So
deal
I
to
think
me.
that is something that we really should push anywhere. It doesn't even have to be here, but across the country.
Yeah, well, like what I was asking though,
Get
like,
younger
who
members
starts
involved right away.
Who
and it's
starts
college
that
credits.
initiative?
It's college
That?
credits.
Yeah, that too.
The Fire Academy reaches out
Yeah.
to the BOCES programs. Suffolk EMS reaches out to the BOCES program and engages that. And that's how the programs go. We started to reach out more when I just started to leave the Fire Academy. Then Chief Devonsky took it. Now Chief Sicilian will continue reaching out. And then on the EMS side, Chief Mara and Chief Janiskowitz will be the ones reaching out to continue the EMS. We're running a program right now in the Eastern Suffolk BOCES for EMTs. So
great.
it's definitely out there, and we are promoting it.
That's awesome. And now what are some, and I guess I kind of mentioned this before, but when it comes to outside agencies and just based on the people that Kevin and I have talked to around the country, what are, I guess, some suggestions that you would have, or maybe advice that you could give to other people that might be either in your position somewhere else in the country, or maybe they don't have something at this level, magnitude, or they don't have the resources, funding, et cetera? What kind of insight do you think you could give people in those positions?
Well, I think, as the commissioner of the Department of Fire Rescue, I think the biggest thing is I found the advantage was for me is just by reaching out to the fire and EMS agencies, letting them know that we are supportive. By opening that line of communications was the biggest win I think I found being a commissioner. By showing up and supporting the fire chiefs, by letting from the deputy fire coordinator program, letting them go out in the field and working with the fire chiefs, by being supportive, it really helps the fire chief know that we are, an extension of them if they need anything. I think that was the biggest win that I found in the position, and we're not there to take over their call. We're not there to, do anything more but be supportive and to know what resources that FRES has for them, and we run that 911 center, the dispatch center. You were saying how nice it looks down there, but there's some hardworking individuals, and
for sure.
if the staff knows that I'm there to support them, they're going to do a good job day in and day out, taking that 911 emergency call for help for, fire EMS agency. And then at the same point, we're there for the fire chief or the EMS chief on the other end of the radio. So I think that's how it really works, because we have all of those opportunities, and we do a lot of community outreach. We assist the fire departments and EMS agencies when they have open house or any community outreach, and we show that we're there to reach the residents, because maybe we can give some more training about emergency preparedness to our residents, if there's a storm or something coming out, that we could help them prepare in the event of an emergency. So, if you're in another county or you're in another, state or community, and you could do more public education and outreach, that's what this is about, because it's really public safety is what this is really coming down to. I think that's what's important.
Right. And now, this might be an off question, but the departments, because you have the authority having jurisdictions when, especially the fire districts, when it comes to equipment and budgeting, and they have whatever budget they have to work with, and they're usually pretty good at getting whatever equipment or apparatus they need. But for the smaller departments that maybe have to go through, say, like a village or a city or something like that, where the people on the board of a village or city might not be in the fire department and don't fully understand what this fire department's looking for, do you guys have any resources for those departments to be like, hey, they're not understanding why we need this new truck? Is there any sort of insight that you could help us with?
So if they call upon us for any help, we will always support them, depending on what their request was. One village called us and said, could we support them with training with their village fire marshal? So our county fire marshal would support them. It all depends on what their request is. Anytime I get grant information, I share the grant information with all fire and EMS agencies, including the villages. Because maybe, if the village doesn't have a lot of funding, maybe they're going to get that opportunity to get a grant to offset some of their funds.
Right.
So whatever I get information-wise, I push it out to the fire and EMS agencies in the villages and the towns and let them make the decision what they want to apply for. So, because I think that's our opportunity to share our information with others. And then, of course, if they have a specific questions, we will guide them or get them to an answer that they may, want to help find the answer with.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Well, I know you bought some stuff. Is those some other talking points that you wanted to hit, or were just more so information?
Well, listen, when we talked about our dispatch center, last year in 25, we answered 400 phone calls for emergencies. 400,000.
I was gonna say,
Sorry, 400,000.
Okay,
400,000.
okay.
That's a lot of
400,000.
2025,
2025. That's a lot of
That's
phone calls.
insane.
400,000.
And there's a lot of departments that have their own dispatch centers.
lot of
So
departments that have
if
their
you-
own dispatch
If you
centers.
think about how many alarms actually come in Suffolk County alone, it's got to be insane.
I mean, I worked up
Millions,
at
probably.
Smithtown 420 as a dispatcher,
Yeah.
taking 911 calls there, and you never know, that phone goes off. You're like, wonder what this one's gonna be.
400,000, and listen, it could be a utility phone call that came in on one of those 400,000.
Mm-hmm.
But then almost 300,000 of them were 911 related.
Right.
So, it just shows you how busy our dispatch center does, and then, the deputy fire coordinators Kevin's the deputy fire coordinator, they ran out to 717 responses, deputy fire coordinators. That's a lot of responses. It could be from a technical rescue call to a working house fire to a hazmat incident, but 717 responses for deputy fire coordinators throughout the county. That's a large number.
And not
of,
just one coordinator, sometimes multiple.
sometimes multiple coordinators
When we
are
had
going.
the brush fire out east, there had to be, 40 of us there?
Right. So, it
it's
all
insane.
depends on the type of an alarm
Yeah.
that we get, how many coordinators are going at. I was telling you about the resource request, but OEM had to send out 450 resource requests last year. But that doesn't mean 7 light towers didn't go to one request out of that 450. So 450, but one could have been seven light towers sent out, or 2 VMS signs, and 3 light towers, and 2 other generators that could have gone there. So, it adds up to a lot more than that.
Right.
When I say we're a resource department that is willing to help any agency. We help the local, fire department, EMS agencies, but also towns that need requests and so forth. So we're out there quite a bit.
Right.
And then you got to think about just communication-wise, what the county has to handle. The multiple frequencies,
Oh yeah.
the partners with Suffolk County Police, fire resources, fire marshals, town fire marshals. I mean, this MedCom, like they handle all the EMS.
Yeah.
So, that communication center is just insane. I mean, even the coordinators, like we have a frequency on the command band that we just talk directly to the supervisor. So when everything else is going on, at least we have a contact point if something's going wrong. So
Yeah.
there's so much happening here at once.
And that pretty all fairly recent kind of system set up I would say within probably the last 15, 20 years, right? Or was it always kind of in?
No, they've
in
had a
place like
pretty
that?
established. I mean, it's expanded a bit, with the 800.
maybe-
it's expanded a bit, but they've been around. I was
been a
understanding
long
from
time.
1950s, I think. Is when
Oh
they-
no, I'm not. I'm just
Oh.
talking about this particular system because.
Oh no, this is fairly new. We used to have
Yeah.
4640. We were
Yeah,
working
they-
on
Yes,
low band.
yeah,
This is
that I remember,
this
yeah.
is really
This is a lot different.
A lot different.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
And then the
yeah.
amount of receiver sites and
Yeah.
transmitting sites, and I mean, they're all over the county. So
Yeah.
We're always growing.
it's amazing.
Yeah, and then this new program that's replacing knifers reports too.
Oh, the NEARS?
Nears, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's another big thing, big undertaking, I guess, that the county has to go through.
We're
as
in
well.
the middle of working closely with the fire agencies in the state, and our staff is entrenched in doing this right now, and ensuring the transition is running smoothly. So to you, what you were saying earlier, what does the day look like? It all depends
Yeah.
on what's coming down and who's asking a question about it.
Right.
So, but we have great staff that really. Without the staff, you're not successful. I
Absolutely.
may be the one saying, "Hey, this is the direction," but at the end of the day, they're the workers that make the county successful.
Right, absolutely. So is there anything else that you would like to put out there to the masses, whether it's just the people in Suffolk County or Long Island or just beyond, the rest of the country out there?
No, I think, basically you covered a lot, but it's invest in your people, communicate, be an effective leader. I think those are the important thing. My theory is get water on the fire. The quicker you have control of the scene. I've always believed in that as a fire chief.
True.
I really thought that was the best. I know everybody likes the truck crew, but I got to have the engine because
gotta get water
it
on the
gets me
fire.
water on the fire. But really, when you communicate with your your staff, whether you're the manager of a business or you're the leader of your fire department, communication was always key, you know. You can send a text message, but sometimes talking to a person goes a real long way. You
I
can't
say it all
forget
the
the
time.
basics of talking to a person face to face.
I always say that, yeah, because group texts are big now, group me and stuff like that. And how many times you put something into a group me where just no one answers
Or misconstrued.
or misconstrued? That's a
Right.
big one.
That's a big one.
That's like when my dad texts back if I say something K, and in my mind I'm like, what did I do?
Right.
He's saying K. It's just how he communicates, but it gets misconstrued. But I'm big on the one-on-one conversations, face to face with people. I think that is, and I say it too, even with the, that's how you handle the toxic people in your organizations too. Pull them aside. Once they don't have the crowd, then they're quiet, and that's your chance to open up that conversation with them. Listen, tell me your issues.
Right.
Do you have an issue with me? Is it somebody else in the department? How can we fix it? And I think that there's not a ton of that going on,
And we
as of
need to know
recent.
people are getting the message correctly, right?
Right.
So, a lot of messages don't get to the people, and we have all this technology and everything else, and still messages aren't really acknowledged, or they look at an email quick and they forget about it, right? So you got to make sure that message gets across
Yep.
properly and the information comes back.
It comes back to the whole consistency part of
that
it.
too.
Good, bad, or indifferent, I still want to hear from you. I think
Absolutely.
it sets the expectation. It knows what I expect from you. I think that's just important. I mean, I've always felt that's what made me be successful, whether it was, running CVS's across Long Island or, running, the fire academy, or even where I am today, or my local fire department, is just communicating with people. I think that's what really becomes successful. That's why I send out messages now to fire chiefs and EMS chiefs and coordinators via text message, because I feel I can't talk to everybody, but you get it right to your phone and you know what direction the Department of Fire Rescue is going. I think it's just so important to be communicative to the fire service, EMS, and everybody. I think it makes you a successful leader, and be respectful.
Yes.
I think people want to be respected in what they do.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, Chief, thank you for your time. I know you've been crazy busy, so we appreciate you making some time for us. I definitely think you gave us a ton of insight, and especially for all the listeners out there, kind of pick up some ideas as to what it looks like from a much wider standpoint. So I really appreciate your time coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, that wraps up, what do we say?
Episode 56.
Kevin's age.
Thank you. Jesus, you're calling me out.
Me
Okay,
too.
son.
Yeah, right.
I call them my kids.
Yeah, yeah.